Hey everybody, Justin with VMP here. I'm back on the dyno with our Supercharged 2024 Mustang. A couple episodes ago, you saw us do the forbidden thing of putting 87 octane in a supercharged car, and we showed you the results. We've ran that 87 out of it, replaced it with 93 octane, just 93. We're gonna run it on the dyno and show you the results. We've got our data logger going, so we know how much timing the car's running. Trans is in manual mode, traction control is off. Dyno in these 24s has really become pretty simple, pretty easy to do. Didn't rev it as high as I'd like, but we made 728 rear wheel horsepower, 599 rear wheel torque. Just looking at where we were before with 87 octane, we were down in the 500s initially. Then we fixed the 87 with some Boostane, and we got up to about 670, 690, even had a run at 700. We're already significantly ahead of that. I want to go over the data with you guys. Just once again, 93 from Circle K, nothing else added to it, and a stage 2 kit with a 3.75 pulley, which is 11 to 12 pounds of boost. The car made 728 on this last run. I actually did a run off camera where I revved it a little bit higher and it made 744. This was 6th gear, and it's a 88, 90 degree morning here in hot, humid Florida. The car is doing well, way better than it did on 87 octane. The reason I wanted to show that is because sometimes you'll get 93 that is just not 93, and you can always identify it from the data logs and how much timing the car's running. The knock sensor is not perfectly happy, but it's a heck of a lot happier. You can see that in the knock sensor traces and the spark traces, and that's what I want to show you here. By 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, the knock sensor is adding in almost 6 degrees. It does struggle to keep it in the calibration. By the rev limiter, which is 7,800 on these cars, it's down to about 1 degree of timing. And one of the things you're gonna see is the timing curve becomes very jumpy, and that is due to the individual cylinder knock control. The computer's actually finding which cylinder will take the most timing, keeping it in that cylinder and pulling it out of other cylinders that aren't tolerating it. And that's also how Whipple has mapped this calibration on the engine dyno. They have gone to the engine lab at Ford, run thousands of hours of dyno time, yes, I said thousands, and have found which cylinders tolerate more or less timing. We've got the benefit here of having a chassis dyno to translate that timing into real world performance. You know, once again, the car made 728, 599. This is a good average middle of the road scenario for this blower kit in warm summer weather. Colder temps are essentially like having a shot of race gas or octane booster. It's actually double the effect because the colder air is much, much denser, so you get more air into the supercharger, it compresses it better, it goes into the engine, and then you get all the frickin' timing tolerance in the world because your air temps are so cool, you're not sensitive to knock. So that's a little bit of what was going on when we had that amazing 800 rear wheel horsepower number. But we don't advertise these kits at that level because it only happens in a certain set of conditions. In Florida, it's very cold February weather. In other parts of the world, you're gonna start to see people up north hit those type of numbers in November, December as it cools down. On this next run, we are gonna put some Boostane in. We're gonna let it mix in for a run or two. Then we're gonna start to see the result, and we're gonna show you guys what just one shot of Boostane does to good 93 octane. My bet is it'll add probably about 10 to 20 horsepower. It'll clean up these spark curves. The knock sensor will add the timing in and hold it, and the spark curve won't be as jumpy. You'll find out here in a second. Okay, so we just did like a 20-minute cool down. Before that, we had 3 pulls mixing in a shot of Boostane, and I just ran it, and it did not really make a whole lot more power. It made smoother power, cleaner power. The graph is beautiful, but not more. So I'm saving the data logs right now to open them up. Got spark, NOx sensor, my favorite thing to look at on the data logs. NOx sensor adds in 5.7 degrees, drops off to 4 degrees, ramps it back in to 5, drops off to 3, holds 3 degrees until the rev limiter. I know the Boostane's working because the spark curve is so much smoother. There's not as big of a jump. And of course the NOx sensor is adding in more timing and holding more timing, but it's like super smooth. There's no dips, no waves, no bobbles. It holds the power all the way to the 7,800 RPM rev limiter. So it seems that the 93 we started out with was pretty good, and adding a shot of Boostane just got us a little bit of extra insurance to make sure that that power could be delivered smoothly and consistently. But I'm not gonna stop here. I wanna see more power. So I think we're gonna throw like half a can in here, because there's about half to 3/4 of a tank of gas in here, and really up the concentration and see if we can actually get it to hold timing and make a little better number. Drum roll, please. Did we make 900 rear wheel horsepower with a magical additive? No, hell no, and I'll tell you why. As I keep saying over and over again, these cars are different. You really have to read into the data because they're controlling timing events on a cylinder by cylinder basis and knock events on a cylinder by cylinder basis. You're getting a reading from all the cylinders at the same time in one line, which doesn't tell the whole story, which is why we use the dyno, we look at the NOx sensor, and we look at how smooth the graphs are. With the Boostane fully mixed into the system, the data is beautiful at that point. NOx sensor adds in its full amount of timing, 5.97 degrees, might as well round up to 6. It stays in there, and the spark curve, all that jumpiness goes away, and it's a smooth line with just very, very little bobble, which it's normal to have like half a degree worth of bobble. It doesn't really affect the dyno graph. I look at graphs a lot, so I see this stuff, and I like pretty graphs. And this run is a very, very pretty graph. It's smooth. Our initial run, while making the same peak number, had a dip in it where there just wasn't enough timing in the car. You know, everybody thinks that octane booster is this panacea, magic way to add all this horsepower. No, really, these are just cars, and we are subject to conditions. We are in 89 to 90 degree weather. The weather data will be on the graph. Our pressure is 30.4, humidity is 51%, density altitude's around 2,300 feet. That's what's really gonna drive your horsepower numbers on these cars. How much air you can get in, how much you can pump through the engine. It's gonna determine how much you can deliver to the rear tires. This is what I wanted to do for you guys. I wanted to show you how bad 87 octane can be, how good 93 can be, and what Boostane and similar octane additives can and can't do for you. This setup is a standard stage 2 with a 375 pulley. Now that we've added octane, we do have a buffer to tolerate additional boost without timing retard. And that's where I think a lot of people are going wrong on these cars. If you pulley down without additional octane, you're gonna see that power come right back out in the form of not being able to run the full amount of timing, the NOx sensor not adding as much, and even worst case, taking some out. All of VMP Stage 3 and Stage 4 kits will come with 2 pulleys. That way you can run the 375 on your average pump gas and the smaller pulley on additives. There are other things you can put in the tank that actually add oxygen and are readily available at the gas pump. We're gonna save that for another video though. One of the things I will mention, if you start the run earlier and roll into it at a lower RPM, the NOx sensor will add timing sooner and you will see a little bit more torque. So that's why one of our runs is a little torquier. I wasn't really focused on that. I was focused on getting the high RPM data. So subsequent runs started at a higher speed. Drop any comments, questions, suggestions you have below, and we'll try to incorporate them in a future video. Until next time, like, subscribe, and share.